you by the Hilltop Bar, Advantage Insurance, Tommy's Express Car Wash, Dwayne's Cover It All, Buck's Golf Shop, Jim Kreshock Jewelry, Big Fat Design, Sun Printing, Lot Nose, the Eye Clinic of Wisconsin, Peterson Kramer Funeral Home, Menster Hardwoods, Brzezowski Dental, the Cloverbelt Credit Union, April Rosebergy EXP Realty, France Propane, Subway, Webco of Wausau, the Kuhn Hearing Center, Carmelo's and Rip Mountain Golf Course, Joe Rader Towing, the Dirks Group, the Intermission Lounge, the Brokaw Credit Union, Champion Insurance, Trap River Golf Club, Central Wisconsin School of Ballet, Red Clover Market, Mountain Bay Auto Care, Charlie's Bar, the People's State Bank, the Mint Cafe, North End Pub, and the Travel Leaders. It's time now for Sully's College Football Page on 98.9 WXCO. And good morning again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Sully's College Football Page on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app, and also on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and the 98.9 WXCO channel. You can watch the show live. You can go back and watch previous episodes as well on YouTube. I am Chad Holmes, along with Sully, Dan Sullivan. Sully, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Chad. How you doing?
Feels like a fall football Saturday, doesn't it? It's cooled down finally a little bit.
Yeah, it has. And, we've had those beautiful last couple of days. This one looks like more of a late fall morning.
Absolutely. Well, let's jump right in because there's a lot to talk about as we get into the midst here of the college football season. And let's start with the Wisconsin Badgers. And last week, the expectations were very low for Wisconsin going into their game against Alabama. Well, the Badgers met the expectations.
Yeah, they didn't.
Yeah. It wasn't much of a challenge for Alabama, was it?
Not really. You had the sense from the get-go that, and just looking at the teams athletically, Chad, when you're looking at a guy like Ryan Williams, there was no answer on the Wisconsin side for some of the athleticism and the athletes that you saw. And that's not to suggest that those guys are not skilled, that they have not developed their athleticism into a skill set. And then the other thing is this team, after that initial loss to Florida State, they seem to have grown from that in terms of mental toughness. They were out to take care of business.
Numbers were not pretty for Wisconsin. Individually, Danny O'Neill, 11 of 17, 117 yards, one touchdown, but the two interceptions. Badgers, simply put, are just not what they used to be when it comes to running the football. Darian Dupree, 7 carries, 26 yards. Jaden Ballard had the one big pass play, that touchdown reception from 41 yards out. And then you look at the team. 209 yards of total offense. Yeesh. Alabama, 454 yards of total offense. The big number for Alabama, though, is like nowadays you completely turn it on its head. It's the pass yards. 382 yards through the air for Alabama.
Ty Simpson came out, had a really good game. I suppose you could take away one positive is that we outrushed them. We held them to 72 yards.
You are the man looking for that silver lining, aren't you?
Because normally that doesn't happen with them either. Even when we, have been playing at a pretty high level, we would still lose that rushing battle to them. And now, you think this year especially, but not the case. We actually rushed for 90-some yards to their 72. But when you're throwing for 380-some and you got the kind of weapons on the perimeter that they have, with Ryan Williams and company, you really should be throwing the ball down the field.
Absolutely. And for the Badgers, let's talk a little bit about the run game, because I'm watching the game last week, and I'm not willing to throw the offensive coordinator under the bus. I just don't think they have the talent right now. I don't. I mean, I'm trying to wrap my arms around this because when Fickle came in, we heard about all these great recruiting classes they've had. I don't. What's the disconnect here right now?
I honestly, Ted, I would start with the quarterback. I don't think it's sustainable to go into the portal every year and get a quarterback. There's too many things to learn, too many nuances within a particular scheme. And then to compound that, these guys get hurt in the first game or two, 3 straight years.
Yeah.
So I think you can start there. Now, that's not the sole issue. I don't think we're as good defensively as we have been. Now, you talk about complementary football. Chad, I don't know how you feel about this, but when you're running the ball 10, 12 times and you are marching down the field methodically, your defense gets to recruit. You get to talk about what you're seeing, get a little better idea of what you want to do when you get back out there. In this stuff, we're 3 and out a lot, and it seems like the defense has not really got in a rhythm. And in some of these games, maybe they're just getting overwhelmed.
Yeah, I don't see right now the light at the end of the tunnel, just in terms of having that high end talent. I just don't see it, and well, could be wrong. We'll see if one of the things Wisconsin used to do very well is coach them up, and I guess that's what they're gonna have to do right now. They have to start coaching these guys up.
Yeah, and I think today's game is critical for the Badger season, because when you look down the road at the Big Ten, and it seems like people in this conference or teams in this conference are on the upswing. There are 7 really good teams, and then right there with them are Iowa and Nebraska. I'm not counting them in the 7. So now you're at 9, and you'd have to say right now the Badgers have 9 teams that are flat out, or at least arguably flat out better. So today's game, this is the only team that we're playing in the Big Ten that Phil Steele has us in front of as he picked the Big Ten this year. So we better find a way today.
So Wisconsin and Maryland. Maryland is 3-0, but you would say that they have not played the top end talent at this point. Northern Illinois is a team that can be dangerous, but even then, it's not what you consider, Power 4 competition of FAU, NIU, and Towson. So this Maryland team 3-0, but still a lot of question marks.
Yeah, I would agree. Towson's an FCS team that's in the state of Maryland, and they're in I almost said it. They're in the Coastal Athletic Association, and not a real strong team in that league, not one of the better teams. And then FAU is struggling mightily this year. They got beat by Florida International last week, who they normally show up and beat. And so they're not very good this year. And if one more Big Ten guy says Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame, which I hear them say every time they mention Northern Illinois, and they said that last week, or said that when Maryland played them and beat them 20-9. Nonetheless, Northern Illinois, Thomas Hammock, a good coach, but they're struggling this year too, Chad. So you're all over. Maryland really hasn't played much of a schedule.
And for Wisconsin, they need this kind of game. Like you said, I mean, they just need right now to get that little bit of a push forward. Even the 2 wins this year, they have not been, and I talked about this last year in those non-conference games. You want to come out there and be the bully. You should be the bully, and they have not yet been. And I think this is one of those tipping point games, because if they lose, then all of a sudden all these questions about Luke Fickell and the direction of the program, they're going to bubble up, and they're going to bubble up probably worse than they did last year.
I think that will become significantly more part of the conversation than it's been. And it's been significant. If they don't get this done today, that's going to bubble up quite rapidly. And, one thing I'd mention, there's a kid, the quarterback at Maryland, Malik
Washington.
Washington, and he has outperformed Bryce Underwood, who's at Michigan for freshman of the year, or excuse me, freshman of the week twice this year. And those guys are almost twins. They're both 6'4". They're both at 210.
How do these freshmen get so big?
I don't know, but this kid, now granted, he hasn't played against high quality opponents yet. He will get a sense of the Big Ten today.
He passes the bus test, though. When he got the bus at 6'4" and 215, you passed the bus test.
You right? Do. And, and people speak very highly of him. So I am very anxious to see that dynamic. And then, of course, Billy Edwards is game time decision.
You know he wants to play, I'm sure. I bet you the Maryland team wants him to play too.
Well, people say, well, he's familiar with them. Well, then they're familiar with him. So how that really plays out, you're not sure. But I am hopeful that Billy Edwards gets back, and so we have the ability to put our best foot forward in what I would say could be a directional changing of our season in today's game.
This has been traditionally the kind of game where Wisconsin was able to out-physical Maryland, since they've been playing each other since Maryland came to the Big Ten Conference. I'm curious to see if the Badgers have that capability today, because that's the way you have to beat a team like Maryland. You're not going to out-athlete Maryland, are you?
No, not especially on the perimeter. You've got to take them, just what you're saying, in the O&D lines and beat them up. This kid, Malik Williams, or Malik Washington, he was the number one quarterback in the DMV, and an area of Virginia, Maryland, Washington, D.C. area where very good football is played. He was the number one player in Maryland, got him. So, that gets to the skill set that you're talking. They have good receivers. They typically have good running backs. But where they've struggled in the Big Ten is the physicality of it, which gets back to you saying they should have stayed in the ACC where they would have been able to play more, a more skilled game than trying to bang away in the Big Ten. But you're right, Chad. We got to go after them at the line of scrimmage.
How important is it for Wisconsin, the quarterback, that if Edwards can play, do you expect to see a significant difference or a minor difference in terms of the Wisconsin offense?
From what I saw him last year, now I didn't see him a lot, right, but when I did see Maryland play, the thing that struck out or stood out about him was his arm strength. He could throw the ball, and he had very good receivers in Maryland, and he was accurate. You'd see him throw the ball, into areas where it was a little fudgy, but he'd deliver it. So I think he will make a significant difference. And, some of the receivers that we have, I think are quite capable, especially the kid we've got from Ohio State. He's capable. So we'll see how this plays out today, but I think having him, it would be very helpful.
I see you put the numbers into the game simulator. Well, what does that say, and what do you think is going to happen today?
The simulator at this point says that Maryland will outperform Wisconsin in 5 of the 8 areas that it assesses. Now, as you and I have talked over the years, the simulator gets more accurate as we go along. These numbers are reflective of who they've played, and the Badgers have played a better schedule.
I would say there would be a Alabama corollary to the game simulator this week, right?
There's no doubt about it. When you get
Alabama versus Towson.
Yeah, you can bet that Maryland's numbers would not be looking like they are had they played against a team like Alabama, which the Badgers have.
And what do you think is going to happen?
Boy, I'll tell you, if I'm a lot more comfortable if Billy Edwards plays. I think a couple things about this game, and you've already alluded to one of them. We're going to be able to run the ball against these guys, and I'm looking for us to run the ball upwards of 175 yards or more. So we should be able to bang at them and control the line of scrimmage, which helps the defense because now we're going to be going on longer drives, get the defense a little time to kind of get its act together and get a better perspective of Washington, because this kid is the real deal. So I like the Badgers to win this game, and I'm looking for the Badgers to score in that 28 and hold them to somewhere around that 17 mark. So I like the Badgers to go to 5-0 against Maryland all time, since, you know, they're big, because that's the only time they played as Big Ten opponents. And this game would get us right where we predicted we'd be at the end of week 4, at 3-1.
All right. So Badgers and Maryland kicking off at 11 a.m. today. And again, we'll take you right up to kickoff here on Sully's college football page. And actually, when you look at, we're going to take a quick time out, and then we're going to start looking at the Big Ten. And this week, a lot better matchups. I think a lot better matchups. A lot of excitement here coming up.
There are some really good games, and I would say that Illinois-Indiana game is one of the better games around the country.
That's just one of them. So we're going to talk about what's going on. We'll start with the West part of the Big Ten coming up next. In fact, there was a game last night we'll touch on as well. So we'll be back in just a moment. Sully's college football page, 98.9 WXCO.
Choose an agency with true 5G coverage. Advantage Insurance of Wausau. Great companies, great agents, great service, great rates, and great claims results. At Advantage Insurance, they support our local community and back you always. Call Advantage Insurance today for all of your insurance needs, or go to AdvantageInsuranceWausau.com. They offer top-rated coverage and the best agents that provide you a true 5G experience for the best total coverage for all your insurance needs.
Chief, we've got a situation.
What is it?
Trouble at the naval base, sir. I'll put it on the screen.
Jiminy Christmas, what happened to all our boat covers?
That's not the worst of it, sir.
No!
Afraid so, sir.
Not the boat upholstery, too. All those holes? It looks like Swiss cheese.
It's funny you mention that, sir. We found the culprit.
All right, Mouse, who are you working for? The Russians? Take him to the brig and get Agent Dwayne from CIA on the horn now.
Dwayne's covered off. Dwayne speaking.
Agent Dwayne, your country needs you. A terrorist mouse has chewed up every single boat cover and piece of upholstery in the Navy.
I'll patch up what I can and replace what I can't.
Agent Dwayne, you're a great American.
Just doing my job.
Boat covers, seat upholstery, camper, deck, or patio awnings. When you need something covered or upholstered, call the CIA. Dwayne's Cover It All. Commercial accounts are welcome. Call or email Dwayne. Visit Dwayne'sCoverItAll.com.
Tommy's Express Car Wash at 102 Bridge Street in Wausau and 1611 Schofield Avenue in Weston has the tools and experience to keep your car clean inside and out. Our wash packages let you pay for the services you want, including Tommy Garden Body Wax, wheel cleaning and tire gloss, an underbody flush and spot-free rinse. Give your vehicle the cleaning it deserves at Tommy's Express at 102 Bridge Street in Wausau and 1611 Schofield Avenue in Weston.
It takes a lot to impress us at Jim Krishock Jewelers. I mean, we see gorgeous diamonds, gemstones, and incredible jewelry every day that we've chosen for our selection. But when a diamond jewelry line like this one comes along, well, our eyes really widen up and our mouths drop open and our hearts beat a little faster. Yours will too when you stop in and check out our Fire and Ice collection of diamonds and diamond jewelry. Their slogan is bigger, brighter, whiter. And it's a difference you can see, which is the most important. Each Fire and Ice diamond is cut to maximize the performance of light coming into and leaving the diamonds to create amazing sparkle and brilliance. So whether you're planning on getting engaged or upsizing your current diamond, or just want something completely new with more sparkle and dazzle than you've ever seen before, stop in and check out our Fire and Ice collection. It's exclusively available right here at Jim Krishock Jewelers at our one and only location on Rib Mountain Drive in Wausau.
Joe Raider Towing in Wausau offers 24-hour-a-day towing, blackout service, and roadside assistance throughout central Wisconsin. You can count on Joe Raider's experienced team to get to you fast. Family owned and operated. When you need a tow, call Joe at 715-212-4762.
The Intermission Bar, located in the heart of downtown Wausau, is a warm, friendly, comfortable spot to enjoy time with old friends and meet new ones as well. Free live music 3 nights a week featuring some of the Midwest's finest talent. The Intermission, a social establishment.
And welcome back. It is Sully's college football page on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app, and on YouTube, youtube.com, and the 98.9 WXCO channel. With Sully, I'm Chad Holmes. It's time to jump into the Big Ten Conference. And again, it should be a great week of Big Ten Conference football. Started last night with Iowa heading to New Jersey to take on the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers. And it was a very good game. Rutgers led 28-24 in the fourth quarter, but then Iowa scored a couple of late touchdowns and beat Rutgers 38-28. Mark Gronowski ran for 3 touchdowns, also passed for 186 yards to lead the way for Iowa. It was the first time that an Iowa quarterback had 3 rushing touchdowns since Matt Rogers. I bet you remember Matt Rogers back in 1990. But both teams now 3-1 overall.
Yeah, and this is the one of the surest bets, I think, in all of college football is when you're betting the Iowa game to take the under. However, this game was like 21-21 early in the second quarter. It started with a kickoff by Rutgers that Iowa ran back. I thought Tim Dwight had suited back up because this kid was just flying down the sideline. And so a lot of points that you really, you don't expect. And you really think that Iowa defense, they were very stout against the run, Chad. But I'll tell you, they have some problems with their pass defense. And they're going to really have to, that kind of is coordinated with the amount of pressure that you can generate, on the opposing quarterback.
Rutgers quarterback Athian Kaliamanis passed for 330 yards in the game. So you're exactly right.
Yeah, he's athletic. He's kind of long and he runs around and he throws the ball down the field. So he's fun to watch. And I'll tell you, he had his way with that Iowa secondary. He was able to complete a lot of balls. And
400 yards of total offense for Rutgers, 346 for Iowa. So, I mean, they won a lot of the numbers, but the big numbers.
That's the one that matters in the end. I remember one time talking to kids at a basketball camp, and I was telling them that turnovers were the number one determining factor. And some kid about 6 who looked like Mr. Peepers, he had glasses that covered his entire face. He says to me, "Coach, I thought it was the score." So I looked at him and I said to him, besides the score, the turnovers are. But you're right, Chad. In the end, the stat that matters is the number of times you can put the ball in the end zone or through the uprights, and that's what Iowa was able to do in the end.
Let's look at today's games and some rivalry games, especially out west. The old Pac-12 rivalries are going to be renewed. The Apple Cup, Washington and Washington State. Washington off to a 3-0 start this year. Washington State is 2-1, and great to see these games continue, even though they're not in the same conference.
I couldn't agree more. The Apple Cup, this will be the 117th time this game has been played. As you may suspect, Washington has the advantage. In fact, Washington has won 14 of the last 17. But interestingly, they have split a couple of games here of recent. So the Washington State, the Oregon State games, I'm with you. I'm glad they're continuing those games.
Also, another rivalry out west, and this one may not be quite as competitive, at least on paper, as compared to the Apple Cup game. We got Oregon State and Oregon. Oregon continues to roll. They're 3-0 on the season. They defeated Northwestern last week. Oregon State 0-3, and they have struggled, and frankly have not played the level of competition that they're going to play here. But Oregon, number one, again, I saw a little bit of their game against Northwestern last week. Northwestern hung around a little bit, but in the end, again, they just pulled away. They have been a team that not only looks like the real deal in terms of the physicality that we normally see from Oregon, it looks like upstairs this is a team that's taking no prisoners.
Yeah, and a big play. They had a 66-yard run they popped. So you can hold them, but there is always the threat that they're, with that speed they have, that they're going to break a run, they're going to hit a pass, and they're going to get those extended plays, which they do. Now, Washington State 2-1, I wanted to mention. Last week, they played a team that you and I talk about a lot in the group of 5, North Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And North Texas beat them 59-10. I got to tell you, I did a triple take on that one. I know North Texas can play, but I did not think they were capable of that. And to your point, Oregon State has just struggled mightily. And in this game, Oregon is a 33.5-point favorite.
Then you got a couple of undefeateds, Michigan State and USC. And this used to be a Rose Bowl matchup.
Oh, yeah. Well, this will surprise, I think, some of our listeners. The last 3 times these teams have hooked up, Michigan State has won. They have beaten SC. And to your point, Chad, in 88, they beat them in the Rose Bowl. And then later, 2 years later, in 90, they beat them in the Sun Bowl. The last time SC won this game was 1978. Now, they don't play a lot, but Michigan State has performed pretty well in these games. And I like to call this the Trojan horse game. You got the Spartans, you got the Greeks, after Troy, the Trojans. So a lot of athleticism on the field today. However, I just think that SC right now offensively has too many athletes for the Spartans.
We'll see if how Jonathan Smith's rebuild is really coming along with this game. And you mentioned that 88 Rose Bowl. In fact, I remember that game because Michigan State beat USC, and then the Packers offered George Perlis their head coaching job.
Did they really?
And they had a deal, and then he backed out of it. And then the Packers hired Lindy Infante instead. But Perlis was that close to becoming the Packers head coach based on that year, that win over USC in the Rose Bowl.
Well, I'll tell you, he did really good work there. And they have really had over the years one of my favorite coaches of all time is Duffy Doherty. I always thought between him and Johnny McKay, those guys should have done a stand-up comedy act because they were great with the media.
And the other game on the western part of the Big Ten Conference for this week is Michigan at Nebraska, the big one in the Big Ten, because CBS puts in their highlight game at 2:30 this afternoon. This is one of those games where your guy, Matt Rule, we're going to see whether or not he's really got things going at Nebraska. They've off to a good start, but for them to be where Nebraska thinks they should be, they got to win a game like this.
And how about the quarterbacks in this game? With Raiola at Nebraska and then Underwood at Michigan. Interest there. Michigan is a 1.5-point favorite, but I got to tell you, Ted, at Nebraska, the crowd is going to be massive. I mean, they're always like 123% of capacity at that stadium. So probably the most riotous environment that you're going to see today, although there's a couple in the SEC we'll talk about. But really, I think a game of real strong interest around the country. CBS 2:30 and Michigan's a 1.5 a favorite.
So is your guy Matty Rule going to get that big W? And all people are going to say Sully was right. Matt Rule is always the guy for Nebraska.
I like Nebraska in this game, and I think Dylan,
this ain't Houston Christian though. because that's who they played last week.
Why they do that, I'll never know.
59-7 last week.
Maybe it's Matty Rule's brother-in-law, and he was trying to get him some money.
But by the way, both these teams last week, I mean, Michigan beat Central Michigan 63-3. I mean, so both these teams had glorified practices to get ready for this game.
Well, you'd be naive to think that sometimes these guys don't look ahead. Now, you think it's coincidence that both Alabama and Georgia have buys this week when they're playing each other next week?
It's all set up.
Yeah, those games, I for one, am glad they're over. And so, and you alluded to it when we started today. We're getting now more into the meat of the schedules, and the simulator now will start to be a little more accurate.
I mean, real quickly before the break, I want to just read off some of the scores from the Big Ten last week. You had Indiana beat Indiana State 73-0. You had Illinois over Western Michigan 38-0. You had Iowa over UMass 47-7. You had Ohio State over Ohio in a much closer game than one would expect, 37-9. You had Rutgers beat Norfolk State 60-10. I mean, and then of course I mentioned the Penn State beat Villanova 52-6. And then I did mention the 63-3 Michigan over Central Michigan, Nebraska 59-7 over Houston Christian. I think that's why we're excited about this week, because you're going to have games that you can actually watch probably into the second half, because most of those games you'll be flipping to another game before halftime.
Oh, and we should mention that Kurt Ferentz broke Woody Hayes' Big Ten win record.
How about that?
And I'm sure he was hoping that he would have done that against Iowa State. However, Iowa State did not allow it. So beating UMass to get that will not be the highlight of that record. But, that is a credit to his longevity and all of the kind of issues, because he's had ups and downs and, his challenges along the way. But that guy, he is one of the most even-tempered coaches. Not that he can't get animated, he can, but he just seems to have another level where he absorbs and then stays focused.
Absolutely. So that's west of the Mississippi, limited amount east of the Mississippi. It looks like some teams are taking a vacation this week.
There's a lot of buys.
So we'll talk about that as well, but we'll talk about the games that will be on. A couple of interesting games to talk about. I think that Sully will have some thoughts on, especially even for the non-Big Ten team that's facing a Big Ten team.
Yes,
so
sir.
We'll talk about that coming up next. It is Sully's College Football page on 98.9 WXCO.
I only travel once or twice a year, but when I do, I go big. Exotic places, incredible hotels, new experiences. It has to be memorable. That's why I call Travel Leaders of Wausau. They get me, and they take care of all the details, so I don't have to worry about a thing.
Travel Leaders gets you, and we get you there. Travel better. Call Travel Leaders of Wausau at 715-355-4437.
And can't forget the sandals. And the right sunglasses.
Hello, my name is Steve Brickner. Here at Brickner Motors in Little Chicago, we'll help you order your brand new Chrysler, Dodge, Ram, or Jeep and get it equipped the way you want it and the color you've always dreamed of. That means you won't overpay for something you don't want. Quality vehicles and competitive prices are what keep people coming back again and again. Make the drive out to Brickner Motors on Little Chicago's northeast side and let our family take care of your family.
You can count on us. Yes, you can.
The Kuhn Hearing Center is a family-owned and operated hearing care facility located at 1699 Schofield Avenue, Suite 106 in Schofield. Dr. Tim Kuhn has been practicing audiology in the greater Wausau-Weston area for 26 years. Dr. Kuhn works closely with several audiology agencies, including Signia Hearing Aids and Accessories, which provides access to the latest and most advanced technologies in the hearing industry. For more info, check them out online at kuhnhearing.com or call 715-298-5511.
Big Fat Designs can give your company the cutting-edge look it needs to attract customers and stand out from the rest. From websites and print designs to logos and letterheads, Big Fat Designs is your effective and affordable marketing solution. E-commerce, online customer database, video and audio players, Big Fat Designs does it all. And the best part, you deal with someone locally to talk with, to meet with, working hands-on towards your success. Big Fat Designs in Wausau. Find out more online at bigfatdesigns.com.
And welcome back. It is Sully's college football page on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. And again, of course, still on YouTube, youtube.com, and the 98.9 WXCO channel on YouTube as well. I'm Chad Holmes with Sully. Coming up, we will have our rankings, talk about the rankings.
We will.
Throughout college football, you'll have the 10-game challenge coming up as well. So still lots on the plate as we continue. But right now we are talking about what's happening in the Big Ten Conference, and we're looking ahead to see what's happening in terms of this week's games. And again, lots of interesting games while some other teams are off on the beach enjoying some sunshine before some big games coming up. But today, let's look at the games first and then talk a little bit about those buys, because like you talk about, there's no accidents here often when it comes to their buys. But big one tonight on NBC, the big primetime game. It's Illinois and Indiana, 3-0, 3-0. Normally, you don't think of Illinois and Indiana for the football supremacy. You think more of the basketball. It's like Lou Henson and Bob Knight back out there in the glory days. But Illinois off to a terrific start. Indiana, again, not really playing anybody up to this point, but still off to a great start. This game being played in Bloomington. Very interesting matchup, because one of these teams is really going to establish themselves again as one of those threats that you're talking about.
You know, and we identified 7 teams that we thought were going to be in the mix, if not for the championship of the Big Ten, for that 4th spot, because we are of the mind that 4 Big Ten teams will get into the playoffs this year. And so we looked at this game, Chad, when we did our first show. We were talking ahead about the Big Ten, and we identified this game. And when you looked at the opposition, the only real threat to both these teams coming in unbeaten was Duke. And, you know, Illinois went down there, and the score was not really reflective of – the game was closer than the score. But nonetheless, Illinois got away from them, beat them 40-something, somewhere in the teens. But the game was much closer than that. But anyway, tonight's game – is really, for one of these teams, taking a step closer to being that 4th team if things go according to Hoyle with Penn State, Oregon, and Ohio State. Then you've got, as we were talking earlier, we got 6 teams, you know, with Nebraska and Iowa, and then Michigan, and then these 2, and then, of course, SC. Mm-hmm. And so you've got these teams playing Michigan and Nebraska, almost, if not an elimination game, close, you know, and I am really interested in this game tonight. I know, like you, I have thought that Bielema has done an excellent job. And the thing that's happened to Illinois in the last, say, 10 years, they'll have a good season. And then the next year they cannot come back and have another. They fall off. And so a great season a year ago with 10 wins. Now they're 3-0. This game tonight for them is critical to continue their march towards another highly successful season. And for Indiana, people say, who's going to be the Indiana this year? Well, if you listen to Signetti, it's Indiana that's going to be the Indiana of 24, of 25. So really interesting game, and a big game with some repercussions down the road.
Absolutely. And it's amazing to think of how far both the programs have come since the last time they met in 2023. That was pre-Signetti. That was one of those tough losses that Indiana had, and they were always competitive. They just weren't able to get over the top in a very tough conference. But in 2 years, it's really turned on its head.
I'll tell you that Illinois leads this series like 46-25 with, I want to say, a couple ties. That said, Indiana has won 4 of the last 5 times the teams have hooked up, 2 in a row in Bloomington. The last time they played, however, Illinois won 48-45 in overtime. And if you remember that game, Indiana tied it with a few seconds to go to force the overtime. And then Illinois, you thought they were done, but no, they found a way. So a lot of these games, besides what's at stake, have been really competitive and very entertaining kinds of games.
Also, Battle of Indiana, not involving the Hoosiers. It will be Purdue and Notre Dame. And Notre Dame 0-2, still looking for that first win of the season. And also, it's just odd they've only played 2 games up to this point. But Purdue 2-1. And I saw a lot of that game last week. That was delayed about 3 hours because of rain and lightning in West Lafayette, as USC did beat Purdue by a score of 33-17, but Purdue had a couple of red zone turnovers that just killed them. They do look like a much better team. So I think for Notre Dame, they can't just expect to roll the helmets out there and get a W today.
Right. And Barry Odom is an outstanding coach, did great work at Missouri. And you look for him to have these guys ready to go. He's not the kind of guy that's going to be intimidated by Notre Dame. And, Purdue over the years has had a familiarity with Notre Dame. I want to say right now the series is 58-26 with 2 ties. So these teams over the years have played quite often. And there was a stretch there in the 60s and 70s where Purdue had the upper hand. They would beat Notre Dame when they had Bobby Greasy and Leroy Keys, one of the precursors to a Charles Woodson, or the kid that was at Colorado a year ago, Hunter, where he played both D and O. So a lot of history in this game. And Notre Dame, they're 0-2, and they've lost to 2 top 10 teams by 4 points. But the expectation was they would win both those games. So we're going to see what they bring tonight and where they're at mentally.
I got a question here. Do the 2 losses that Notre Dame have this season equal less damage than the 1 loss they had last year? In terms of what their ultimate goals are, which is still to make the playoff.
Well, in this sense, yes, they're worse. The 2 losses, even though people will say who they were to.
Right. And what I'm saying is that ultimately, are they able to get away with it a little bit more than, because they put themselves in a position, I thought, last year where they couldn't lose again because of 1 loss. Here with 2 losses, if they run the table, they're still going to be in the playoff, aren't they?
I would say at 10-2, the chances are very good that they would be.
What about 9-3?
No.
But I think a lot of people out there would say, "Oh, it's Notre Dame, and they want them in the playoff for TV ratings and all that stuff." If they're 9-3, do you think somehow they find that the committee says, "Oh, Notre Dame lost to then 2 top 10 teams, so we're going to put them in"?
If they're 10-2, and they, you look at who's left on their schedule, how good when they line up against SC. How good is SC going to be? Is SC going to come in, with 1 loss, no losses? I'll tell you what, Notre Dame should have no problem with Purdue, because I don't think Purdue defensively can stop them. They're going to score on them because there's so much disarray right now with how Notre Dame is playing defense. But they're going to score on Purdue. I'll tell you what, though, Jed, next week, Notre Dame has got to go down to Little Rock and play Arkansas. Oh, Sammy Pittman down there is going to be sharpening his samurai sword, and they better be ready for the Hogs down there, or it's not going to be a good result. There's just not a whole lot of teams that are highly regarded left on Notre Dame's schedule. And so another loss, and they're done. If they win out, it would depend on what happens around them. But I think when you're talking to the quality of teams in the Big Ten and then the high quality of teams in the SEC, those teams are going to lose games. So I think 10-2, Notre Dame is still okay, but they better win out or they're not getting in.
It'll be a very interesting conversation if they are 9-3.
and they sneak in over a team that loses 1 or 2 games.
Well, I'll tell you what, if they get in, then I might start buying into that conspiracy that there's something amiss here.
All right. Well, coming up, we're going to go into the rankings. Yep, it's time to start talking some rankings. We'll start with the FCS Top 15 coming up next as we continue here on Sully's College Football page on 98.9 WXCO.
Thinking about changing to organic or natural foods? Then you need to stop at Red Clover Market at the Total Rental location in Weston. Family-owned Red Clover Market, your healthy natural food store. Open Monday through Saturday.
Looking for a part for your vehicle? Look to Hilltop Auto Wrecking in Wausau. Hilltop Auto Wrecking can help you find just about any part you need for your car, truck, or SUV. They have a great selection of auto glass and tires with lots of sizes ready to go. Hilltop Auto Wrecking is always looking to buy vehicles, so if you're stuck with an older junker, they can haul it away for cash. Hilltop Auto Wrecking, family owned and operated for over 40 years at 237-934 Del Rio Road, formerly 6806 North 33rd Street, Wausau. Call 715-675-3258.
For more than 60 years, Sun Printing has been Central Wisconsin's commercial printer of choice due to their commitment to quality, creative solutions, and dedicated service. Sun Printing's team offers you a wide spectrum of services. Whether you need offset, digital, large format, graphic design, or mailing, they print everything under the sun. No project is too big or too small. So give Sun Printing a call at 845-4911 or visit them online at sunprinting.com.
Since 1981, Lopnos has been Wausau's favorite sports bar. Grab a bit of Wausau's past while you're watching your favorite sports teams at their historic turn-of-the-century establishment. Lopnos is the perfect place to catch all the sports action on their 15 enormous flat-screen TVs, enjoy a night on the town with friends, or have a celebration in their private party room. A great place for birthdays, anniversaries, clubs, or meetings. Lopnos, Wausau's oldest and finest sports bar, 3rd Street, Wausau.
For over 40 years, Champion Insurance has been helping business owners protect themselves. They also offer protection for your home, auto, and other personal assets as well. Local family owned and operated. Champion Insurance. They got you covered. Schofield Avenue, Schofield.
It is Sully's College Football page on 98.9 WXCO, WXCO.FM, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app, and on YouTube at youtube.com and the 98.9 WXCO channel. With Sully, I'm Chad Holmes, and time now to get into those rankings. And now I'm starting to really get into a feel of it because these teams now have played some games. It's not just speculation, it's about what you've done on the field. And we'll start with the FCS. And on Sully's College Football page, you get the top 15 teams in the FCS. And we'll start off with 15 and 14. You got Montana State, who is 1-2, and Jackson State, who is 2-1 at 14.
And I got to tell you, I didn't have the heart to not include Montana State. You know, they ended their season last year in a great game against North Dakota State. So that was one of the losses. Then this year they opened with Oregon. So taking on one of the best programs and this year teams in the FBS. Then they had to turn around and play South Dakota State, who is another really outstanding team in the FCS out of the Missouri Valley Football Conference, and they lost to them in overtime. So I thought, all right, and we really treat this more, Chad, as a win-loss ranking, as opposed to a power rating, because the power rating becomes a lot more complex.
Mm-hmm.
You got to look at who they played. You got to look at how have the teams that they played that you perceive as good, how are they actually doing? You know, as opposed to being a blue blood who's not playing like it that year. So anyway, we kept them in even though they're 1-2, but I will tell you, we did not keep Notre Dame in our pool like the AP did.
You have number 13, Lehigh from the Patriot League. They're 3-0. And then number 12, Southern Illinois, the old Salukis, right? The
Yes.
Salukis at 2-1.
So 13 Lehigh and 12 Southern Illinois.
Yeah, Lehigh is involved in the oldest rivalry in all of college football, older than the Wisconsin-Minnesota rivalry with Lafayette.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the longest running rivalries. Well, it is in terms of football. And the Patriot League did not used to give scholarships, but they do now. And so the quality there has picked up. And then, with Southern Illinois, the thing about Southern, growing up in Illinois, they were a great baseball school, and they always had good athletic teams. And you and I have talked about Walt Frazier, the great guard for the Knicks, and there was another kid on that team, Frazier. And they used to have legendary basketball games with Edwardsville, where their star player was Jerry Sloan, the great guard for the Bulls. So Southern has always been a very good athletic school, and their football team kind of reflects that when you see them play, a little bit like Toledo. They always got guys that can run.
And I believe one of the great football players who ever played at Southern Illinois, and I think I'm right. I'm going to double check it real fast. Jim Hart, the longtime St. Louis. He went to Southern Illinois.
I did not know that. I know the name.
Yep.
But
he played in the NFL for many, many years. And then he actually went back and was athletic director there after his football career for a while.
My father was never a Chicago Bear fan, even though we grew up in Joliet. He was always a Chicago Cardinal fan. And they used to play at Comiskey Park, where the Cubs played at Wrigley. And so when they moved to St. Louis, my dad kind of stayed with them like a lot of people on the south side of the city.
You can't just transfer allegiances very easily.
Yeah. I was thrilled that the Browns kept the Browns in Cleveland.
Right.
I mean, the Phoenix Cardinals or whatever they were. I mean, it just didn't seem right.
We got at number 11, Villanova, coming off their nice paycheck, at least at Penn State last week. And number 10, Tennessee Tech, who's undefeated after putting 72 up on Davidson.
The thing I always noticed about Villanova, they seem to think they belong. No matter who they play.
They're Villanova. Of course they belong.
And the basketball, you get that sense of them.
Right.
So even though they're playing Penn State, it's like, we're good. We're good with these guys. And it seems to be a carryover. Now, Chad, that may be me projecting, but I got to tell you, that's how they strike me. And while Penn State took care of business, that was gradual. I mean, they were hanging around well into the third quarter.
Then you continue now into the top 10. You have at number 9, Austin Peay. They beat Morehead State 56-7. And then Illinois State. Boy, it seemed like Illinois, the state of Illinois, sort of like the Dakotas here. Another Illinois school, Illinois State, 2-1 after beating Eastern Illinois 42-30.
Yeah, and that was our guy, Spence Nowinski, great football player at Evers. He coached there for a while. In fact, when Spence was running the defense, Illinois State got to the championship game. I know you remember that.
Yep.
And it went right down to the last couple of plays when they lost to North Dakota State. So yeah, they're very good. And how about Austin Peay? Given Georgia, it was 27-7 or whatever, but they played with
That's you go in there, if you don't give up 60 or 70, you walk off that field with a big check and some pride.
And, they actually beat Middle Tennessee by as many as Wisconsin did.
West Georgia, number 7. I can't remember ever hearing West Georgia before, number 7. And then a school that we have talked about for a long time, Montana, but have we talked about West Georgia?
No, they're relatively new to the FCS, but they are, what are they, 3-0 now?
Yeah,
and they, when you look at them, they're in a good league. They're in the SoCon, so they play in the Southern Conference, and they really are starting to make some noise. So we got them here ranked, and
they are the Wolves.
The Wolves, okay.
And they're called the University of West Georgia, not West Georgia, the University of West Georgia Wolves.
And I misspoke. They are in the United Athletic Conference, the UAC, which is kind of a hybrid of conferences that come together for football and then disassemble and go back for other sports to various conferences.
Interesting. Very interesting. Always good to see a new name that we are not familiar with. Rhode Island, the Rams are 3-0 after edging Holy Cross in an old-fashioned battle, 9-7. And then Presbyterian, number 4.
Now, Presbyterian is in the Pioneer. And I have to tell you that is a non-scholarship. That's like the Ivy League.
Mm-hmm.
The Ivy League does not give scholarships, although they do that kind of with a nod and a wink, because there's a way they get those kids money. I had a really good friend growing up, Mike McLaren, who went on a basketball scholarship to Yale. Really good player. But anyway, Presbyterian this year has beat some SoCon teams. They beat Furman, and I believe they're 4-0 at this point. And I got to tell you, I am thrilled for them, and I hope they can keep it going because the winner of that league will, in fact, get an automatic berth into the tournament. So seeing Presbyterian get in would be very good for the Scotch-Irish. I know they'd be real happy.
Number 3, Tarleton State. They're 4-0. They're from the UAC. What is the UAC again?
That's that conference that West Georgia's in, and that's the United Athletic Conference. And like I mean,
you'll be
these
tested
things,
on this one.
Oh yeah, you can get confused on this. They're a hybrid, like the Big South and the Ohio Valley have merged for football, but they call it the Big South and Ohio Valley. So that one is easy for me not to get confused with. But yeah, that conference is a hodgepodge of teams that come together for football. Here's the thing I would say about Tarleton: they beat Army, and then the next week I think Army had a bye, and then they beat Kansas State. Army did. So this team can play, and I think as we go along here, Chad, we're going to be looking to see if they're able to challenge these Dakota schools. It's out of Texas, and they are very good. Yeah.
Of course, out of Texas.
That's right.
Number 2, South Dakota State. They're undefeated. They beat Drake last week, 37-21.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I was surprised by how close Drake played them. That usually is 50-something to 7 or 3. Right. So, Drake, that's out of Des Moines, I believe, if I'm thinking right. But anyway, they really surprised me in terms of how competitive they were, even though some people may say, look, it was 2 scores. But nonetheless, for them, they're another team out of the Pioneer that does not give athletic scholarships.
Number 1, of course, number 1 is North Dakota State, 3-0 after beating Southeast Missouri State. What a machine, huh?
they just keep going. And last year, I'll tell you, they earned that championship. They beat South Dakota State in the semis, so they actually had a little tougher role to hold than did Montana State. Montana State beat South Dakota. So it was 3 of the Dakota schools and Montana State. And then that championship game, so North Dakota State beat South Dakota State 28-21. And then you turned around, and those 2 teams at the time, Montana State was unbeaten, 15-0. And that was a great game. It ended up 35-32 with North Dakota State finding a way. And that gets back to what you're alluding to, Ted, and that is they just know how to win.
So that is the FCS Top 15. Again, you can always go back and keep up to speed on who they are, who they played, who they beat, who they're coming up against by going to Sully's collegefootballpage.com. Well, that's the first hour of the show. We still have plenty to talk about. We'll have the Group of 5 rankings coming up. We'll have the Power 4 rankings coming up, and we'll have our 10-game challenge coming up.
Yeah, we got Maddie coming in from Webco, And I got to tell you, do a lot of work with Maddie when we get stuff for Sully's college football page that we
Are you what you're wearing now? Did you get from Webco?
Sure did.
There you go.
Yeah, well, yeah. And Maddie is terrific guy to work with, so great to have him with us today.
All right, so we'll have him coming up next, play the 10-game challenge here on Sully's college football page on 98.9 WXCO.
Buck Welsh has been working in the golf business since 1976, became a PGA member in 1984, and has been teaching for over 40 years. His philosophy has always been to work with the individual golfer, building on the way they do things and making them better with what they have to work with. Call Buck at 715-581-2646 or check out the website www.bucksgolfshop.com to get more info about lessons.
Eye Clinic of Wisconsin believes that clear vision and hearing are priceless. Eye Clinic of Wisconsin is equipped to handle all your eye and hearing care needs. When you need specialty and surgical eye care, why not work with the best? Let the team of professionals at Eye Clinic of Wisconsin see you. Eye Clinic of Wisconsin has 7 convenient locations that include Wausau, Amtigo, Medford, Merrill, Rhinelander, Stevens Point, and Wisconsin Rapids. Visit their Facebook page or website at www.eyeclinicwi.com. Eye Clinic of Wisconsin, one vision, yours.
As a proud member of the Wausau, Marathon, Edgar, and Athens communities, Peterson Kramer Funeral Home has built a reputation for having a deep commitment to personal service. When you need compassionate concern and expert guidance day or night, Peterson Kramer Funeral Home is the one to call. You can trust them to take care of every detail at a time it matters most. Located in Wausau, Marathon, Edgar, and Athens, Peterson Kramer Funeral Home, friends you've trusted and depended on since 1914. Krasowski Dental offers the most effective cosmetic and neuromuscular dentistry procedures and treatments. When you walk through the doors, you'll experience an incredibly comfortable and pleasant atmosphere where you'll be treated like family. Krasowski Dental offers 24-hour emergency service and care so you don't have to wait, and offers many of the newest dental technologies and perks to make your dental experience comfortable and less stressful. Schedule your appointment now with Krasowski Dental, North 17th Avenue, Wausau.
Don't you just love a good football game? Don't you just love a new car or a new truck or a new motorcycle? And don't you just love saving money? Then you'll love Clover Belt Credit Union, your go-to team for saving money with a great rate vehicle loan. Great rates are what make Clover Belt the leader in vehicle loans. Cars, trucks, motorcycles, ATVs. If it's got a motor and it rolls on wheels, Clover Belt Credit Union has the great rate financing you want. Give us a call and we'll get your great rate loan rolling. Clover Belt Credit Union, your team for great rates.
The Dirks Group started in 1999 as an alternative to traditional IT service providers. From the start, they focused on customized solutions for the needs of each client. Today, they serve over 400 customers from locations in Wausau and Eau Claire. Go to dirksgroup.com for more information.
Charity's Bar in Marathon City. Great food, great service, a great place to meet friends. Come on down and watch the game or just hang out. It's Charity's Bar on County Road and in Marathon City.
Witness the difference at Newman Catholic Schools, where education is embraced by the Christian faith and students are held to a high standard of academic excellence. Schedule a tour and learn what it means to be a Newman Catholic Cardinal. Visit newmancatholicschools.com to learn more.
WXCO 1230 AM, W255DN Wausau, streaming at bullfallsradio.com.
And welcome back. It is hour number 2 of Sully's College Football page on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. Along with Sully, I'm Chad Holmes, and we always start off hour number 2 by bringing in a special guest, one of the terrific supporters of Sully's College Football page, to go head-to-head. Sometimes mano a mano, sometimes woman a mano, but today's mano a mano. And so, who do we got here? A return visitor.
Yes, we do. And I'll tell you, we got Maddie Flowers with us, and Maddie works over at Webco for Donnie Trebs. And I have to say, I do a lot of work with Matt. When we're getting paraphernalia, we got some hats that we're going to be getting the sponsors here. And, terrific, Matt. The work and the service you get at Webco, always great. And, I know that you guys have been big, and Donnie over the years has been big in community involvement and doing a lot, the extra step for schools. And because of your support, we're able to support, at least in a small way, the women's community, the Children's Miracle Network, St. Jude's, the Good News Project, the Hager Home. All of that stuff is related, Manny, to your sponsorship of Sully's College football page. So we're very appreciative of what you do. And I can tell you, you want good service with sporting apparel. You're looking at the guy here that can get it done for you. So thanks, Maddie, and thanks for being with us today.
Anytime.
And let's talk a little bit about Webco before we get into the games themselves. Matt, tell us, it's been a tradition here in Wausau for many, many years. Tell us a little bit about Webco for those who may not be as familiar. Those who've been under a rock for a while.
Yeah, they'd have to be.
At Webco, we make custom apparel simple. Whether you need just a dozen shirts, matching polos for your team at work, or a big order for a community event, we can make it happen with screen printing or embroidery. Chances are you've already seen our work around town at local events, in shops, or even at your own workplace. We focus on making quality products that look great, don't break the bank, and get done on time. We also do promo items and personal online stores that take the hassle out of collecting orders. And you can give us a call at 715-842-5550 or email us at sales@webco.com.
Fantastic. Well, let's jump right in. We got a really good week of action going on in college football. This week I'll start at the top and work our way down.
That's right. I know you like to do that.
We actually the whole year I've started at the bottom and worked our way up. But I'm going to start at the top and work our way down this time.
Well, I got to tell you, it only took me 4 weeks, but I figured out you wanted the bigger games later, so I actually inverted them.
Very good. So we'll start off with Notre Dame and Purdue. Again, Notre Dame looking for that first win of the season. Purdue 2-1, and they did not embarrass themselves last week against USC. We'll start with our guest, Matt.
Yeah, for my pick, I'm taking Notre Dame.
Come on, could have gone with Purdue. That's an annoying Saul. But Sully, should we even ask you for your pick?
Well, I got to tell you, Notre Dame defensively, there's a lot of chatter going on, and I think it's a lot about not much, Matt. Look at you execute whatever the strategy. So everybody now is all over the new D coordinator, and I'm thinking that you got to execute. If you execute, the strategy or scheme, you're fine. I'm going to take Notre Dame also, but not for the reasons that Chad is alluding to. I'm going to take it because I don't think Purdue can stop them defensively.
Our second game coming up at 11 o'clock down at Camp Randall Stadium, the Wisconsin Badgers and the Terrapins of Maryland. Again, as we talked about earlier, a significant game for Wisconsin with such a tough schedule coming up. And we'll start with Seoul.
Well, I got to tell you, this game, to me, is a critical game for Wisconsin, given the schedule they have. I would say maybe Florida, maybe an LSU has a schedule that rivals the difficulty of Wisconsin. Maybe. That said, this game, we need the Badgers to get back to the bowl season, and I think this game is absolutely critical to that end. So I'm going to go with my head a little bit and a lot with my heart. So I'm taking the Badgers in this game.
When you compare Wisconsin to LSU and Florida, the big difference is Wisconsin's not as good.
Yeah, well, there is that.
The schedules maybe that makes it even tougher for Wisconsin. But Matt, what about you, Wisconsin or Maryland?
Well, I'm gonna have to break the bad news. I got Maryland on this one.
Well, their quarterback, man, he could be a problem.
Third game. Another of those Texas battles, the old Southwest Conference battle.
Yes,
and it's also one of those rivalry games because you got Fort Worth with Texas Christian, and you got Dallas with the SMU. So Texas Christian making the very short But actually, who's at home? Do you know who's at home in this game, Saul?
Yeah, TCU.
TCU is home. So SMU makes the short trek across what they call the Metroplex to take on SMU. And we'll start with Matt.
Yeah, this was a close one. For this one, I got SMU taking the win.
The Mustangs.
You know, I'll tell you, Matty, we're gonna part here because well, we already did with Maryland and Wisconsin, but I like Sonny Dykes. I like TCU at home. So I'm going to say TCU finds a way and gets this done against SMU.
Good Big Ten matchup coming up later today. Undefeated Southern California, undefeated Michigan State. As Sully told us before, Michigan State's had the number of USC for a long time. Not very often that they meet, but for a long time. And Sully, what do you think?
Well, the Spartans have won 3 in a row. And I wish D'Antonio was coaching because Chad and I were talking earlier about, the wooden horse play with the Greeks, Odyssey or whatever that Ulysses was fooling.
Who thought we'd get some classical information?
Yeah, well, hey, you get a little bit of everything here. So if D'Antonio was there, definitely come down to a trick play. I just think SC is too talented offensively. I think Michigan State will battle them. Jonathan Smith, great coach, but it won't matter. Too much talent on the O side. USC gets this done.
Matt, what about you?
Same pick. I got USC for this one too.
All right, our 5th game, another interstate battle.
Yes.
Miami and Florida. And a massive game. Miami undefeated, Florida 1-2. You just said it. They got a very tough schedule. But for Florida, if they lose again, Sully's guy, Billy Napier, will be in trouble. But Matt, who do you got?
For this one, I got Florida coming on this rivalry game.
Oh, okay.
Sully, who do you got in the Sunshine State battle?
I got to tell you, I heard I was on one of the Florida boards the other day, and they are now referring to Billy Napier is Sunbelt Billy because he was in the Sunbelt.
But I'm sure you got your keyboard out and started to defend your guy, right?
No, I just read. I got to tell you, I think Miami, with the quarterback play of Carson Beck, and then that defense and the focus. I mean, Miami's on a mission. It's been a long time for them. They are desperate. They were a couple games away from getting to the playoffs last year. So I think this team has an edge to it. And let's be honest, these teams really don't like each other, Chad. So this should be a fun game to watch, but I think Miami finds a way.
All right, that's halfway through our 10-game challenge. Again, we're joined by Matt Flowers of Webco. Before we continue with our final 5 games, Matt, again, just a little bit more about the services and what Webco is all about.
Yeah, if you're looking for custom apparel, Webco is right here in Wausau, and we've got you covered. We can handle anything. Small personal orders, outfitting your whole business, or gear for a large event. We specialize in screen printing and embroidery, but we also do promo items and even set up personal online stores so you won't have to deal with collecting orders yourself. We keep it simple, good quality, fair prices, and a fast turnaround. When you're ready to get started, you can call us at 715-842-5550 or email us at sales@webco.com.
Terrific.
And I just want to mention about Donnie Trebotowski. Donnie was with Art and Rick when they started East Bay. And back in those years, I used to work camps all over the country, down in Tennessee, down in Southern Illinois. And the one thing, when you said you were from Wausau, they said East Bay. They would constantly say that. And I know Donnie kind of cut his teeth there, building that into what became a national brand. And Maddie, I think you guys have continued that at Webco. So there's not only the great service, but there is also a familiarity with that kind of business that you guys just have, benefited from Donnie's experience. And you get that sense whenever I'm in there talking with you guys.
Fantastic. Let's continue with an SEC matchup. Undefeated Missouri and 2-1 South Carolina. South Carolina got whooped up by Vanderbilt last week. And now the questions are coming out. Shane Beamer going back to Virginia Tech after they fired their coach last week. So a little bit of distraction going on down at the other USC. We start off this time with Sully.
Yes. Well, this is definitely the Battle of Columbia. You know, you got
That's true.
Columbia, Missouri, and Columbia, South Carolina. Eli Drinkwitz, who is the coach at Missouri, that guy is one of the most underrated coaches in the country, and he has done that through a series of just proving it. Every year they're kind of bypassed, and every year they step up and play at a high level. Lenoris Sellers, their great quarterback, he was doubtful, I had heard, for today. So given what Drinkwitz has been able to accomplish in South Carolina, a little banged up after being kind of slapped around by Vandy.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Missouri in this game,
Matt?
Nope, I got that same pick. I got Missouri with this one.
Nebraska and Michigan. Big one in the Big Ten. Nebraska off to a 3-0 start. Michigan is 2-1. Their only loss against Oklahoma, so on the road, no less. So this game being played in Lincoln at 2:30 this afternoon. And Matt, who do you got in this Big Ten showdown?
I'm taking Nebraska on this one.
Okay.
So?
Well, you know, I honestly, I was leaning towards Michigan, but I had breakfast this morning with one of the guys that advises me on college, Sully's college football page, Jerry Gruno, and Grun convinced me that Dylan Raiola is going to step up. This is his coming out party, and the more I thought about it, I think he's right. So I'm with you. Riotous crowd. Raiola has a big game. Michigan, Underwood is still a June bug. You know, he's learning his ways. So I'm going to go with Nebraska.
All right. So then we have Texas A&M and Auburn. Another really interesting matchup in the Southeastern Conference. Auburn trying to work their way back into the mix in the SEC after a little bit of a downward trend, but they've been off to a decent start this year. Who do we start with? Oh, is it
Maddie's
Sully?
up. No, my
Sully is up.
I'm up. Okay. All right. Now, interesting quarterback situation here. I mean, it's kind of like Peyton Place here. Jackson Arnold was at Oklahoma last year. Am I ahead of myself? You know what? That's the wrong game. It should be Oklahoma is playing Auburn.
All right.
You know, I did have an ulcerated eye, which I'm still dealing with. So I'm going to have to come up with something.
I will take your word for it.
Yeah, it is. It's Oklahoma playing Auburn. So I'm not sure how I did that, but I'm capable, of course. So Jackson Arnold was at Oklahoma. He kind of was moved out when the kid from Washington State came in, Johnny Mateer. And right now people are saying Mateer might be, if they were voting right now for the Heisman, they would vote for him. And so a little bit of bad blood here. I don't think it makes much difference whether there's good blood or bad blood or whatever kind of blood there is. Oklahoma is going to get this done against Auburn. So sorry for the confusion, Matt.
I'm going to go with you because I had the wrong game, so I'm taking Oklahoma then too.
My bad.
Next up is Utah and Texas Tech. And Texas Tech spent a lot of money in the offseason. It looks like it's paying off. Utah always solid. So, Matt, what do you got in this one?
And, Matt, I want you to know this is the right game.
Okay, well, in that case, I'm taking Texas Tech.
Okay. You know, that's one of my guys. Is Chad knows I'm always babbling about Joey McGuire. Very good coach. Both these coaches, Kurt Whittingham is one of the great coaches as well. The game's in Utah. I'm going to say that Utah, kind of on a mission from a disappointing year last year, is going to get this done against Texas Tech, who really hasn't played anybody of merit yet.
And then finally, we have Indiana and Illinois, the big one in the Big Ten tonight, 7 o'clock kickoff. Both teams are undefeated, both teams ranked, and we will wrap things up with Sully.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I like Bielema, and I grew up in Illinois, even though I was an Illinois basketball fan, never an Illinois football fan, always the Irish back in the day. All that said, I think Indiana finds a way in this game. They're at home. And, Chad, I do think they got a little more star power than Illinois. Even though Indiana has played no one, I think that they're going to be ready to go, riotous crowd in Indiana. Huge game for them. I like Indiana.
And Matt, your final pick.
Well, I got to go against you one more time. I got Illinois for this guy.
Okay.
So there you have it, the 10 games of Sully's 10-game challenge. Matt Flowers from Webco. Any final words, Matt, before we wrap it up?
Well, if you need gear that really represents your team, business, or event, Webco can help make it happen. We handle everything from custom shirts and embroidered polos to large orders for special events. Whatever you need, we got you covered. We also make it easy with promo items and personalized online stores, so collecting orders is simple and stress-free. Our goal is straightforward, making quality products that look great, don't break your bank, and are ready when you need them. You can reach out today at 715-842-5550 or email us at sales@webco.com.
And I'm going to hold up an example of the hats that we just got from Maddie. So very good stuff, Matt.
Fantastic. And Matt, it's always good to have you on. And I think you probably rolled Sully again here today. But thanks for coming on by. Best of luck as you continue at Webco.
Thank you very much. It's always great to be here.
Maddie, thank you for coming.
We're going to take a timeout and get back into the rankings with the group of 5 coming up next here on Sully's college football page on 98.9 WXCO.
Where did the good old days go? From going to the old A&W drive-in to cruising the strip in town, all things change. Some things stay consistent. For almost 75 years, Redant Insurance in Rib Mountain has been providing quality service to its customers. One of the oldest agencies in the area. Your family and neighbors come here. Now it's your turn. Call 715-845-9204. Click redantinsurance.com or stop by 227501 Rib Mountain Drive. Redant Insurance Agency, our family helping yours.
Tommy's Express Car Wash at 102 Bridge Street in Wausau and 1611 Schofield Avenue in Weston has the tools and experience to keep your car clean inside and out. Our wash packages let you pay for the services you want, including Tommy Garden Body Wax, wheel cleaning and tire gloss, an underbody flush and spot-free rinse. Give your vehicle the cleaning it deserves at Tommy's Express at 102 Bridge Street in Wausau and 1611 Schofield Avenue in Weston.
Kemp Service Center was established in 1951 and to this day is still family owned. That's 70 years of serving the Wausau area with the best in auto and truck repair. Kemp's certified mechanics service all makes and models, including imports. Don't wait to the last minute to get your oil changed. Kemp's can get the job done in no time. Kemp's Service Center is open Monday through Saturday at the corner of North 6th Street and East Wausau Avenue in Wausau.
You don't have to choose between personal, hometown service, and the latest banking technology. Brokaw Credit Union has it all. Whether you're looking to finance your first home, grow your savings, or get a new set of wheels, we're here to help. Check us out at brokawcu.com. It's hard to find great Italian food in Wausau unless you're familiar with Carmelo's Italian Restaurant. Established in 1986 by the Oliva family, 3 generations still strive to provide a family atmosphere and fine dining experience. Carmelo's is proud to serve authentic Italian made with fresh ingredients. Their recipes have been handed down from generation to generation. Reservations are recommended Tuesdays through Sundays, and they are closed on Mondays. Carmelo's Italian Restaurant, located at the base of Granite Peak on North Mountain Road, Wausau. Check them out at carmelositalian.com. And welcome back. It is Sully's College Football page on 98.9 WXCO. WXCO.FM, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app, also on YouTube at youtube.com and the 98.9 WXCO channel. I am Chad Holmes, along with Sully, Dan Sullivan, and of course, pushing all the right buttons and playing us back with the fight songs from various colleges is our in-studio engineer, Ian Welsh. Again,
oh, yeah.
Thanks to Ian for being with us every Saturday morning as well.
Always happy to be here.
It's all over.
And I'm a
personally, I think the Badgers are going to win today.
I was going to say, at some point, you should let Ian take the 10-game challenge.
Well,
at some point, he'll be like the emergency guy if somebody's not able to make it.
We certainly could. We can absolutely do that. And Ian, one of our sponsors is Buck's
There you go.
Golf Shop.
Yep.
So, and
he can represent Buck's Golf Shop.
Knowing Buck over the years, I'm quite confident that Ian can beat him in checkers.
There you go.
So it would be good to do that. So Ian, in about 3 weeks, we got an opening.
There you go. So
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
We'll get ready to see if Ian can beat Sully. That would be fun. He does a number for the day quiz every weekday with me, and now he's competitive there. You make him competitive here as well.
Well, consider that done, Ian.
Here's the group of 5, and of course, as we said earlier, if you go to Sully'sCollegeFootballPage.com, you get all this content, including different rankings, and Sully does it a little differently. He takes the group of 4, the big money schools, and puts them into one set of rankings, and then takes the group of 5 and has a completely different set of rankings to give them a little bit of the love.
Well, when you look at that, Chad, the discrepancies of dollars and access to players because of that.
And then even when they get some good ones, the big guys will steal them away.
They go right in and just gobble them up. And you can't, sustain that as a sole way to build your program. It's got to be through the high school recruiting. But I'll tell you, it's a lot like free agency in the NFL, because if you're playing at Appalachian State, you are a proven player at this level. And how many times have we seen those guys come in and do great work right away at that FBS Power 4 level?
Let's go right into it. We're going to go take groups of 3 here because we're running a little bit behind. Number 20, Utah State. They beat the previously ranked Air Force Academy last week. Number 19, Southern Miss, who beat aforementioned Appalachian State. And Louisiana Tech is number 18.
Yeah, I'm just going to comment on Louisiana Tech. This is the best they've been since Skip Holtz left. There was some bad blood there at the end. They wanted Holtz gone. I think Holtz wanted to be gone. And they just have not been as effective as a program since he left.
Right. Whenever I think Louisiana Tech, I still think of the Lady Texters, because they were dominant in women's basketball back in the 80s.
Oh, they were?
Yeah, they were like one of the dynasties back in the 1980s for women's college basketball.
I did not know that.
Well, you have to know. Such a wide range of knowledge here.
You're the universal. You're like Leonardo da Vinci, the Renaissance man.
Number 17, Wyoming. They faced a good Utah team and came up short 31-6 last week. Another Big 12 team coming up next as well for Wyoming with Colorado. Hawaii is now 3-1 after beating Portland. And Buffalo, Buffalo still hanging around. So that Lance Leipold foundation is not cracked since he has left.
I'll tell you, and he's changed Kansas around too. That guy is an outstanding coach. I'm going to talk a little bit here about Timmy Chang, who's at Hawaii, set a lot of records there when he was a quarterback there, and has done a good job. He's been there now. I think this is his 3rd year, and Hawaii is doing a better job of keeping guys at home. And they've been getting some of those Polynesian players that are out scattered around the Pacific. So this is a program on the rise.
All right. So then we have at number 14, Boise State. Then Bowling Green from the MAC is at number 13. And Fresno State from the Mountain West comes in at number 12.
Yeah, now Fresno's got Hawaii this week. Yeah. And I anytime you say Bowling Green now, I always want to mention their new head coach this year is Eddie George, the Heisman winner, 1995 Heisman winner from Ohio State. Great player, did good work at Tennessee State, and now he's moved up to Bowling Green, and he's got them ranked in our poll.
All right, so keeping the rankings coming here at number 11, East Carolina. They beat Coastal Carolina 38-0 last week. They have a challenge against BYU on the road coming up. Army, number 10. And Texas State, who did not get run by Arizona State, but did lose to Arizona State 34-15 last week. They're number 9.
Yeah, and years ago when I was over at Newman, we had a student who was not real strong in geography. He was looking for East Carolina on the map. He said he was aware of North and South Carolina, but he had never heard. I said to him, well, that part is right, because East Carolina is inside of North Carolina. But nonetheless, a good program. and they have been resurrected a little bit and are playing better this year.
Gives me an idea. Somebody should start East Dakota since they do so well in the Dakotas.
East Dakota.
Yeah, make some. Yeah, somebody should start East Dakota because based on how good these teams are, they'll be obviously very good.
Well, I think years ago, Sister Gabe and I one time in a U.S. history class, we were asking the kids to name some areas in the Middle East. We were going beyond U.S. borders, and a couple of the kids said Ohio. And I said to Gaby, I know this is a U.S. history class, but we were talking the Middle East. These kids are too geographically centered in the U.S. So, Chad, we don't want to be talking about East Dakota. We already got enough confusion.
Number 8, Old Dominion, and they did something to open up some speculation because they went and beat Virginia Tech and they dominated Virginia Tech. They came out and they were up by about 4 touchdowns very quickly, and that led to Virginia Tech firing their coach after the game. But Old Dominion number 8, North Texas number 7, and Navy still undefeated after a win over Tulsa number 6.
Yeah, that Harvest, the quarterback at Navy, is really an outstanding player. If you get a chance to see Navy, make sure you check him out. And he'd be hard to miss since the way they run the ball. And North Texas, how about them? They took on Washington State last week, who is playing Washington, and beat them 59-10. So that's a team that can play. And this is the best Old Dominion's been, a Virginia school, in several years.
The Monarchs.
Yes.
Number 5, UNLV. Dan Mullen has his team at 3-0. Then number 4, the Toledo Rockets from the MAC.
Yes.
2-1, and the Green Wave of Tulane. They've continued to be successful even after Willie Fritz left them for Houston, but they're number 3.
Yeah, and that's a program we've talked about them, Tulane, that has a lot of history. They were initial members of the SEC. When the SEC kind of fractured, when those teams were relatively balanced still, they went to the Metro, and Tulane has always been an outstanding football program right there in New Orleans. Got a huge game today against Ole Miss. They're going there, and Ole Miss's quarterback was banged up. So they better be careful against this Tulane team because Tulane will be able to run with them.
Absolutely. And then the top 2, Memphis. And is Spence still there? Spence Nowinski?
Yeah.
Is he at Memphis? Was he still at Memphis? Because I know he was at Memphis, you had mentioned previously.
Yeah, I don't know if.
Well, we're going to find out, but they're number 2 after beating Troy, and they have Arkansas on the road coming up. That's an interesting matchup. And then South Florida, number 1, and their run. They've had such a good start, and they kind of ran into a buzzsaw with Miami last week.
Well, they definitely had Miami's attention. Any chance of them sneaking up on Miami when they beat Florida 18-16 the previous week, and then if you remember to open the season, they pounded Boise State. They beat them like 34-7. So both these teams playing at a high level. And Memphis is desperate to get somewhere into the Power 4 level.
I have the answer on Spence Nowinski.
Oh, good.
This year, he moved to New Mexico. He's the defensive coordinator and linebacker coach for the Lobos of New Mexico.
Spence, now he's a guy that we should involve in geography because he's been around the country. And the thing about Spence, he was at Newman for a couple of years, but his first love was football. And he had an opportunity to go and play at Everest, for Wayne. And, it would be pretty difficult to try to deny a guy an opportunity like that. So we encourage Spence, and he has done great work wherever he's been. And I think New Mexico, we're going to have to now tune more into them. So, yeah, great coach.
So there you go with the group of 5. And now coming up, we will talk about the Power 4. And again, been some interesting results and maybe a little bit of a shakeup, maybe not a little bit of a shakeup. We'll wait and see. But coming up next, we'll start with the top 25 of the Power 4 on Sully's college football page on 98.9 WXCO.
The Mint Cafe, serving old-fashioned American comfort food in a cozy atmosphere. Whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, your choice is the Mint Cafe. Call ahead for carryouts, deliveries to downtown Wausau, and catering is also available. Check them out at mintcafewausau.com.
Looking for a part for your vehicle? Look to Hilltop Auto Wrecking in Wausau. Hilltop Auto Wrecking can help you find just about any part you need for your car, truck, or SUV. They have a great selection of auto glass and tires with lots of sizes ready to go. Hilltop Auto Wrecking is always looking to buy vehicles, so if you're stuck with an older junker, they can haul it away for cash. Hilltop Auto Wrecking, family owned and operated for over 40 years at 237-934 Del Rio Road, formerly 6806 North 33rd Street, Wausau. Call 715-675-3258. Are you looking to furnish a new home, apartment, or cabin? Are you looking for quality clothing at a reasonable price? Well, if you are, be sure to stop at St. Vincent de Paul at 131 West Thomas Street in Wausau. Make them your first stop, your one-stop shop for furniture, clothing, accessories, home products, and much more. And remember, St. Vincent de Paul in Wausau is more than just a thrift store. It's a local ministry meeting the needs of our community. Your purchases benefit those in need right here at home. So shop St. Vincent de Paul at 131 West Thomas Street in Wausau, where your purchases benefit your neighbors.
Since 1997, Mountain Bay Auto Care has been serving Central Wisconsin with top quality and affordable car repair and service. With ASC certified mechanics. Stop by 5702 Stella Avenue in Schofield or call 715-355-8646. The warmth of your home is about making memories with family and friends and enjoying life celebrations. At Menzner Hardwoods of Marathon, they understand the importance of bringing warmth to a place you call home. For over a century, their fifth-generation family business has been creating beautiful woodwork for the home and office, just as they have for over 130 years. Menzner Hardwoods looks forward to providing you with elegant wood products to enhance the beauty of your home or office. Visit them at menznerhardwoods.com. Menzner Hardwoods, timeless beauty for your home or office. The Eat Fresh Refresh doesn't stop at your local Wausau Subways. When the urge hits, make sure to stop by any of the 4 Wausau Subway locations at 1609 Merrill Avenue, 330 East Bridge Street, 1819 West Stewart Avenue, and 4300 Rib Mountain Drive in Walmart. Catering, remote ordering, curbside pickup, and Subway delivery all available. And make sure to use the Subway app when you need Subway. Subway with 4 Wausau locations.
Buck's Golf Shop for all of your golfing needs. Located at 903 Grand Avenue, Suite C8, Rothschild, Wisconsin, 54474 in the Bushka & Bushka Insurance Building on the east side. Specializing in Badger, Bucks, Brewer, and Hacker golf-related items. Green Tag sale is 30% off the retail price. Call 715-581-2646 or email wellsgolf@pcpros.net.
At People's State Bank, we think checking accounts are like SUVs. That's why we offer more features to fuel your lifestyle. The best part? You can open an account without leaving your driveway. Just visit bankpeoples.com today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
And welcome back. Sully's College Football page on 98.9 WXCO. It's time now for the top 25 in the Power 4, the big money schools. And we're going to start at the bottom. We'll take a couple of schools at a time. You got Michigan State cracking for the first time in a while. Probably been about a couple of years since they were in the rankings at 3-0. And then Vanderbilt, and boy, what an impressive win for Vandy last week, going into Columbia, South Carolina, and roughing up the Gamecocks 31-7.
Yeah, they just hammered them too. It wasn't like something at the end.
Is Vanderbilt for real?
Well, how about this? Last year they were the state champion in Alabama because they beat Alabama and they beat Auburn. So, the work that the coach there,
Clark
Leah.
Yep, Clark,
he was my son Mike always says that Mike Elko was arguably the better recruiter because they were both assistants for Kelly at Notre Dame. But he always said Clark Leah was the better coach. And I think you're getting a sense of what he's doing at Vandy has been outstanding.
Yeah, both in the SEC, but very different types of football programs.
Yes. And then, with Michigan State, I got to tell you, Chad, I went back and forth between Michigan State and Texas Tech, because Texas Tech is also 3-0. And yet I settled on Michigan State because a little better in their non-conference.
The BC game is probably the difference. They played another Power 4 team. And
that's
they won
exactly what it came to.
Number 23, undefeated Nebraska. Number 22, undefeated Mizzou.
Yeah, two teams that are off to very good starts. Two teams that have high expectations for this year, especially Nebraska. And today's games, with South Carolina not wanting to take another step back after last week, and Nebraska desperate. They have lost something like 23 straight games to ranked teams, and that number's not exact, but it's like that, and it is that high. So huge games for both programs today.
Couple of SEC teams, number 21 Auburn undefeated, and number 20 Mississippi, and they survived Arkansas 41-35 last week.
Yeah, two coaches that are kind of characters. Hugh Freeze,
yeah,
he had some issues when he was at Ole Miss, and every time I see Lane Kiffin, I don't know about you, I always think of Peck's bad boy. He's always doing something. He was photoshopping Saban all the time in jeans and, those jean shorts and stuff.
It's hard to believe a guy like Kiffin would fit better at a place like Mississippi than USC, but he does. I think he's the kind of guy that needs to be a little bit of an underdog to kind of poke at the big bears, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot of talk now that he's the guy that Florida is eyeballing. If they're going to move on from Billy, and it looks like they most likely will.
Number 19 is Utah. A nice win against Wyoming. They do have Texas Tech coming up, and Michigan, number 18, with their big game against Nebraska coming up.
Yeah, I think for Kyle Whittingham, last year's season was an anomaly.
Yeah.
And, I think he's got the wherewithal that he won't stand with that. He'll find a way here. Huge game today with Texas Tech. And then, with Michigan, can they get this done against Nebraska? It's going to be a very hostile environment. They faltered when they went to Oklahoma. I think this is going to be harder. I think Nebraska's going to be louder.
You have this incredible love of Matt Rule, I'll tell you that. Every time it's Nebraska, they're too tough. But
well, we've watched him since he's been in the FCS,
and number 17, USC. Lincoln Riley. It seems like he's calming things down a little bit in LA. Haven't heard of any complaints about not meeting the media so far this year.
Kick them out. Yeah.
And number 16, Indiana.
Well, I think living in LA, I was out there in 1974, 75. I was in Vista. And I got to tell you, I grew up in Joliet, spent a lot of time in Chicago. The traffic in Chicago, which is bad, is not a fraction of the traffic.
I spent a year out there too. And then all you do is you're in that traffic and you think about how much of your life is being wasted away.
Oh, yeah. And nobody ever talks in terms of miles.
Right.
It's always minutes. And when I hear minutes, I always think, oh, boy, it's traffic. Anyway, so who we were talking about?
USC in Indiana.
Okay. SC today. Huge game with the Spartans, the wooden horse play. And then, Indiana and Illinois. And you're right. This is a ball that has points, not a round one. So different kind of scenario for those two schools.
Number 15, Iowa State. They had a battle last week on the road at Arkansas State, and they were able to win it 24-16. And then number 14, Alabama. And again, you talked about the talent that we saw against Wisconsin. They may be number 14, but that's still a team that's very much in the mix to get higher.
Chad, I couldn't agree more. They have two of the guys on their line are first-team All-Americans, and the third guy is third-team All-American. So when people say the talent is dried up at Alabama, no, the talent there is just fine, thank you. And, we were laughing earlier about the schedule. it just happens that Alabama and Georgia both have a bye when they're playing next week. And here's the other thing that we want to mention quickly. The last 10 times that Alabama has played Georgia, Alabama has won 9.
No.
And, I say that to people and they say, no, Sully, I can't, but it's right. It's
true.
Accurate. Yep.
Number 13, Florida State, and number 12, Georgia Tech. And man, they had a battle last week against Clemson. That was quite a game. And in the end, they were able to pull off the 24-21 win. And you just got to love what Brent Key does at Georgia Tech.
Really outstanding coach. And I'll tell you that Haynes King, that kid is he is really fun to watch. I don't know how well he'll translate to the next level, but he has a great combination of ability to extend and then escape in the pocket, and he throws the ball effectively down the field. And, those teams right now are back-to-back in our rankings. They're on a collision course after Tech beat Clemson last week.
Yeah, I think that's a team I'm going to be very interested to watch as the season goes on. I really like Georgia Tech. And then the team that probably had one of the big heartbreaks of last week, Tennessee. I mean, it felt like they had Georgia, and in the end, they let them slip away, falling 44-41 in overtime. Man, I mean, it felt like Tennessee had that game.
Yeah, well, it comes down to a field goal. It was set up the way the game was.
Big fourth down conversion for Georgia late. I mean, that's what great teams do, right?
Yeah,
I mean, they make plays when they have to.
And then, the pressure, whatever happened there with the kick, there are several things that can go wrong. The snap could be a little off. The hold didn't get the seams turned, or the kicker doesn't. They missed. I felt very badly for that kid.
Yeah.
And the Tennessee fans, I mean, they can be obnoxious. But nonetheless, they've been faithful, and you wanted a little better for them.
Yeah.
And and then
you
they
feel
missed
for that
kick.
kid.
And then the defense had, he did make the field goal in the OT, but then the D couldn't hold him out, and so there you have it.
And then that Illinois transfer got the game-winning touchdown. And
Yes.
Speaking of Illinois, after a quick break, we'll be talking about Brett Bielema's boys and the rest of the top 10 here on Sully's College Football page on 98.9 WXCO.
Crab River Golf Course in Wausau is a unique 18-hole public course. The relaxed atmosphere and breathtaking Northwood scenery is sure to make your golfing day a satisfying experience. For membership information and tee times, call Crab River Golf Course at 715-675-3044.
France Propane at 1153 Foundry Street in Schofield is a local family-owned complete service company serving central Wisconsin for over 2 generations. France Propane is a value-driven company whose goal every day is to provide excellent service, maintain the highest safety, reliability in customer care, and competitive pricing. France Propane, service first, safety always. Check out France Propane at francepropane.com. For over 30 years, Webco has worked with corporations, schools, organizations on their apparel and promotional needs. Webco can handle small quantities to orders in the thousands with a fast turnaround. Webco of Wausau, 1405 West Thomas Street. It's almost Halloween, and Wausau Dance Theater's Thriller, a dance spectacular, is back to thrill audiences once again. Join us Saturday, October 18th at 1:30 and 7 p.m. at the UWSP at Wausau James F. Benega Theater. Come see ghosts, mummies, vampires, and more. Bring the whole family, wear your costumes, and get ready for a frightfully fun performance that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Tickets and info at the Central Wisconsin School of Ballet. Call 715-842-3606 today.
North End Pub. Cold beer, clever conversation. All stories cross-referenced for validity. If you're looking for a nice spot to hang with friends, North End Pub will do the trick. Stop in for thirst relief today. North End Pub, North 3rd Avenue, Wausau.
Big Fat Designs can give your company the cutting-edge look it needs to attract customers and stand out from the rest. From websites and print designs to logos and letterheads, Big Fat Designs is your effective and affordable marketing solution. E-commerce, online customer database, video and audio players, Big Fat Designs does it all. And the best part, you deal with someone locally to talk with, to meet with, working hands-on towards your success. Big Fat Designs in Wausau. Find out more online at bigfatdesigns.com.
Witness the difference at Newman Catholic Schools, where education is embraced by the Christian faith and students are held to a high standard of academic excellence. Schedule a tour and learn what it means to be a Newman Catholic Cardinal. Visit newmancatholicschools.com to learn more.
And welcome back. It is Sully's College Football Page on 98.9 WXCO as we are just over 10 minutes away from kickoff as the Badgers get set to take on Maryland and many, many, many other games throughout the day and night. But we're now to the top 10. And so again, Sully's College Football Page. For those folks, how do you do it? How do you determine your rankings? Is there a magic sauce here, or is it just basically you take all that information and you just try to use the experience that you have?
Actually, the first thing, if you're going to do a rating system, you have to decide, is it a power rating or is it a win-loss ranking? And, Chad, I barely have time to do what I'm doing. So the power rating is a lot more complex, as we've talked about. So I try to look at records and then look at who they've played. And then, the teams that they have played, who are, what's their record? What are they like? And so, like, for instance, this week it came down to the 25th ranked team. It was either Michigan State or Texas Tech. And I concluded at this point, both teams were 3-0, but that Michigan State had the little better non-conference or had the little better schedule. So that's part of it. And then I just kind of look at
Number 10, Illinois. And then number 9, Texas. So Illinois getting set for Indiana. Texas against Sam Houston State. Real quickly about Texas. Arch Manning is getting a little heat because they don't feel like he's playing that well.
Well, first of all, I don't think Johnny Unitas could live up to the expectations that set about that kid. Look, we got to give him time to develop. Sure. He's a June bug. He's very talented. He's got a great arm, and he's got really good feet. He seems to have very good instincts, and yet he hasn't played against that type of talent long enough to see things a little quicker. He's fine. He'll be fine. And I've dropped him because the last couple of weeks, they haven't played against great competition, and he hasn't played really that well. But you know what? Neither have any of the rest of them, So right. I think this is going to be a process where they're going to continue to get better. And they need to, Chad, because they're going to get into the league now. I think they played Texas El Paso or Texas San Antonio, not against great competition. And I'll tell you, it's coming. So
yeah, they beat UTEP 27-10 last week, and Sam Houston State coming up, who's 0-3. So again, they're just, I guess they're getting some reps.
And that's where Phil Lengo is, I think.
Oh.
I think he's the head coach there now.
Yeah, I think you're right. Apparently having some struggles so far.
Well, I think when whoever was there and left, he brought in, if I'm not mistaken, over 50 guys in the portal.
Number 8, Texas A&M, after their big win against Notre Dame in South Bend, 41-40. They'll celebrate by having a bye week. And then Oklahoma, who knocked off Temple. They went to Philly last week. We talked about that, and they made the road trip, and they did a nice job winning 42-3, and they will host Auburn later today.
Yeah, that is a huge game. We talked about the quarterback play that Johnny Mateers. Is it really playing at a high level? And I'll tell you, if you're going to watch a game today, I would earmark that one and watch that kid play because he is deadly with his arm or with his feet.
How good is Texas A&M?
Texas A&M, I think, is very good, but that's by prejudice saying that Notre Dame is good, and they went in there and beat them. We're going to find out more about them in the coming weeks here.
Number 6 is Miami, 3-0 after an impressive win against South Florida. And number 5 is Penn State. You have a little down because, again, of the schedule.
Yeah, well, they're not playing anyone.
Right.
They choose to do that. Now, the last 3 years in the Big Ten, including this year, Ohio State 2 years ago, check. Michigan 2 years ago won it.
Yeah.
Played not a Power 5 in the 9. So did Ohio State. Penn State now is, initially was the team that the Big Ten was favoring. Same kind of scenario. No Power 4. Indiana, no Power 4. Rutgers, no. So some of these teams do it. I'm good with Northwestern doing it, but not Penn State. They need to represent and get out with the Big Ten and take on somebody in a Power 5 conference.
So number 4, LSU. LSU 3-0. They beat Florida 20-10 last week, and Brian Kelly got all upset because he was asked about his poor offense.
Yeah, Kelly, has some personality issues that can drive people nuts. The guy is really a good coach. He is a very good coach. But I mean, he where did that Southern accent come from? The year that Notre Dame went 4-8, Chad, I watched him. He blamed everybody but his mother for that 4-8 season. I mean, he was blaming it bordered on ridiculous. I think what the priest at the time called him in and said, "Hey, you got to stop this."
The team manager took the wrath that year, I tell you. But it's really interesting. He got an interesting record because he had great success everywhere. Again, you're exactly right. He's a really good coach. He had Central Michigan, and he did really well. He went to Cincinnati, where he kind of set the foundation there. Notre Dame and LSU.
And then he was at Grand Valley. He won national championships.
He was there for 13 years, which you forget. I mean, because I look at his record here, it's like, wow.
I'm telling you, the guy does not get enough credit because people look at him and think he's kind of a dope.
And that accent, kind of a phony.
That was what was that? I mean,
number 3 is Georgia, and boy, they slipped out of town, I'm sure, after getting that win against Tennessee, because there are a number of ways they could have lost it.
Well, I can't tell you how excited I am for that game because if Alabama beats them again, I don't know what to make of Kirby.
Is it at Athens this year?
I got it right here.
I think the last time they played at Alabama last year. So
and actually,
I'm pretty sure last year's game was at Alabama, so I'm sure it'll be at Georgia this time.
And you are 100% right. It's at Georgia.
Okay. Number 2, Oregon. And I mentioned earlier, this is a team that's been like the Terminator this year. They are just going out there and they are taking care of business on the road, 34-14 against Northwestern last week.
Yeah, and Northwestern, I mean, they can be hard to play against.
Especially in that place at 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, you're coming across country.
It's a 9 o'clock start for them, actually.
Yes, yeah, it is. And, people talk about their athleticism. Northwestern actually requires these kids to be students first. The interesting thing is next week, so Oregon's got the Civil War.
Yeah.
Next week, they go to Penn State.
Wow.
That's going to be, and of course, Penn State is taking the bye. So apparently Oregon didn't get the Alabama, Georgia, Penn State memo where you're supposed to take off this week. But I am thrilled that they're playing the Civil War and the Apple Cup is staying intact.
And I believe that's going to be a night game, the whiteout night. So that's always a hard one. So but Penn State really wraps their arms around that whiteout.
I'm telling you, next week it'll be a battle. I'm sure there'll be some schizophrenic kind of feelings with the TV networks or where they're going to go.
And I'm sure we'll talk a lot about that one next week. And number 1, Ohio State, they beat Ohio U 37-9. They have a bye week. They did test themselves. They played Texas, so they've earned number 1.
They really have, and I'll tell you, they are playing at a high level. And the interesting thing here, a team that we haven't talked a lot about, which may be a team that's going to make a lot of noise in the Big Ten is Washington.
Yeah.
You know, they've got a player who had 5 touches last week, 15 touches and 5 touchdowns. You know, so they're kind of out there just under the radar. But it's going to be interesting because when Ohio State comes back, that's where they go. They go out to Washington.
We got about a minute to go. I'm gonna throw something at you here just at the end. You say Washington is a team that. What's another maybe 1 or 2 teams that may not be right now in that discussion where people are always talking about that? Yeah, you think that they can come up and maybe surprise?
Well, you know, I think Georgia Tech is somebody that's kind of quite capable. And they're in a league where they could do it. I mean, if
they win, they're going to get credit for it.
They've already beat arguably the number 1 team coming into the season in Clemson. Miami is not a surprise, but, you know, Miami always does something which constitutes a determination of brain deadedness. You know, they last year they were 9-0, and then they just went away and didn't get in the playoffs. They're a team, Chad, that could make some noise for the national championship. They've got the right quarterback, and then they've got the defense.
All right, so very interesting. Hey, time for the Badgers and the rest of college football. So goes by quickly, so we'll watch the games.
Hey, I'm ready for the games.
And we'll talk to you next week.
Very good.
Sully's college football page will be back next Saturday at 9 here on WXCO.
WXCO 1230 AM, W255DN Wausau, streaming at bullfallsradio.com.